The beauty of the internet and all of these self-improvement books is that we have so much advice at the tip of our fingers. We can get advice on pretty much anything. But the way I see it, there are 2 steps to taking advice on board. 1, listening to it. 2, deciding whether that advice is right for you. Because if we were to follow everyone's advice, we would be a complete jumble. We wouldn't know how to make our own choices. When people give advice, they're basing it on their own experiences, emotions, and thought processes, but no 2 individuals are the same. Even advice from the world's most successful person can be the wrong advice for you. Not all advice is good advice, and I think there's some common advice out there which kind of sucks. Focus on yourself. Have you ever gone through a breakup or some sort of conflict and you've been given the advice, just focus on yourself? We live in an age of self-improvement and self-love, and I think that's a great thing. I love looking inwards and growing as a person. And at one point, I thought that's what life was about. I thought it was about being the best version of ourselves. But I no longer think that's true. I think life is about connection. Research has shown that loneliness is on the rise. Research has also shown that good relationships can help you live longer. So basically, more of us are feeling alone, and more of us will probably die because of it. I'll be real with you, I've struggled with friendships, I sometimes get social anxiety, I'm an introvert and I'm a massive homebody. I could honestly stay in this flat for a week and not leave. I also love working on myself and my own things like yoga or art or even this YouTube channel. And sometimes I think I'm a little bit too comfortable being alone. So it's really easy for me to follow this advice and just focus on myself. But I actually feel like relationships are a huge part of self-care and self-love. I don't think we're actually capable of not caring about what other people think because we were born to connect with others. But I feel like the secret is caring about what the right people think and nurturing the right relationships. This is not about quantity, so I don't want a massive friendship group and I don't need loads of people in my life, but I do need people. What's the point of becoming the best version of yourself if you're the only person who gets to see it? I think we should let other people see and experience our magic and also share it in theirs as well. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This in itself is not actually bad advice, but I do think it's been interpreted in the wrong way. A lot of people will hear this advice and think that they have to audit their friends in order to help their chance of success. So if you're this really ambitious person and your friends aren't very motivated, then maybe you think you need to upgrade them. This is wrong on just so many levels. Firstly, not everything has to revolve around work and success and where we're going. I think we should just be able to enjoy the present moment. So if we've got 5 friends who we really enjoy spending time with, surely that's all that matters. I also think that we can learn so much from people who are different from us. I don't think we should ever underestimate people or have an ego where we think we're better than people. Also, if the 5 people who are in your life are too similar to you and your current way of thinking, surely that gets boring. Surely it would be good to have someone to challenge you. So if you're this career-driven person, maybe it will be good to have people in your life who challenge you to relax and see other sides of life. I feel like we need to be able to depend on ourselves to become that person that we really want to be without having to rely on the 5 people closest to us. Because yes, community and support is really important, but I also feel like we need to have that resilience to be ourselves. And we also need to just spend time with people because they make us happy. Like I said, I think this advice has just been interpreted the wrong way. I don't think it's meant to be about success or productivity. I think it's meant to be about people's energy and their values. So if you're around people who constantly bring toxic energy into your life, or who are really negative, or who constantly gossip or bring drama into your life, then I completely understand why this advice would be valid. And actually, I have distanced myself from people for this reason. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So this is the hard one because obviously I do believe in positivity. I think it's a great thing, but I feel like with most things, too much of anything can be unhealthy, and this applies to positivity. Firstly, I think that only having nice things to say can lead to enabling. Sometimes I feel like you have to say no or offer feedback or criticism or encourage accountability. I feel like especially in this digital social media world, accountability is even more important. Obviously, trolls are awful, but I feel like some of us have become so afraid of being called a troll or being accused of cancelling someone that we let things slide. But sometimes online, people will say the wrong thing, or they will mislead their audiences or spread false information. This whole positive vibes only thing shouldn't mask things that can actually be detrimental to other people. And this doesn't mean that we have to say things in a hurtful way or cancel people, but sometimes accountability will help those online figures more than fake positivity will. My husband has a best friend called Andy, and Andy has gained a lot of weight recently. That's not something that my husband or I would usually comment on, but we know it's a result of an unhealthy lifestyle. He consumes over 6,000 calories a day and has other unhealthy behaviours. So obviously we were concerned, especially after we met someone who was in their 40s who had a heart attack who had the same lifestyle. So being concerned, my husband went to Andy's dad to have a word and share his concerns. And when Andy found out, he was furious. But then on our wedding day, he told us that he had some advice from his dad ever since he was young. A good friend will tell you what you want to hear, a best friend will tell you what you don't want to hear. This advice has really stuck with me. I feel like people pleasing and being nice all the time doesn't actually show that you have good intentions. Sometimes it's about making yourself look good. You want to be seen as a good person or a good friend, so you always say the nice things, but you don't actually stop and think about whether you're actually helping that person. And I feel like this is why a lot of nice people end up being mistrusted or not even liked. It's because it's not real and it's not actually helpful. Sometimes if you want to be a good person or you want to be a good friend, rather than saying something nice, say something helpful, say something real. Practice makes perfect. In the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, he says that you have to spend 10,000 hours on something in order to become the master of it. There's two things wrong with this advice. Firstly, practice does not make you perfect, it just makes you better. I feel like at this point we might as well remove perfect from the English language because it's not actually real. The second thing wrong with this advice is it doesn't take into account what you want to get better at. A Princeton study found that the improvement of something after practice varied depending on the domain. So in games, practice made a 26% difference. In music, it was a 21% difference. In sport, an 18% difference. And in education, a 4% difference. Adam Grant talks about this in the book Originals. He says that in theory, practice is good for something which has a rigid set of rules or a stable structure. So for example, playing chess or learning to play classical music. The rules never change, so you can study up to become the best at it. But for other things, practice doesn't always show that you will become successful. And the problem with practice is it can reduce variation, which makes it harder to come up with something new. Obviously, I do think practice is really important and contributes to growth. I actually just recently made a video about how practice is teaching me a lot about life. But I feel like we just have to keep it in perspective. Quitters never win and winners never quit. When I was 18, I had the next 10 years of my life planned. I knew exactly what my career path was going to be, I knew what age I was going to get married, how many kids I was going to have, and when. I thought I had life figured out. Fast forward 10 years, and at 28, what I want has completely changed. I recently made a video about this because I want to leave my current career. And that's been really scary because it's scary to admit that you want to change. It's scary to think about what other people might think of you, and it's scary to feel like you're a failure or a quitter. But I've really learned that sometimes we need to quit in order to win. I think quitting is a really good thing, and whilst perseverance is important, I actually think self-awareness is even more important. There's a lot of advice out there, some good, some bad, and some downright ugly. I feel like with so much information out there, critical thinking is really important. We have to be able to dissect what we're absorbing and think about whether it's right for us and where we are in our life. So even with this video, you might completely disagree with everything that I'm saying, and that's okay because we need to pick and choose what advice we listen to. So I'll see you guys in the next one.